Alex was alone in the small, quiet station at the edge of the galaxy. The station was mostly empty, except for a few engineers and scientists, all going about their work. It was peaceful. Alex had been stationed there for over a year now, a simple task of monitoring the surrounding space for any unusual activity. For someone who had always dreamed of space adventures, the job was far from exciting. He spent most of his days staring at screens, watching data come in from distant planets and moons. But lately, something strange had been happening. The data feeds had started showing strange energy readings. Energy sources that didn't make sense. One evening, after a long shift, Alex was in the station's observation room. He had been watching the stars when his monitor blinked. A red alert flashed across the screen. An unknown object had crashed on a nearby moon. The coordinates matched exactly with one of the energy spikes he had noticed earlier. Curiosity got the better of him. Gathered his gear and headed for the docking bay. The shuttle was ready. It didn't take long for Alex to reach the crash site, and when he arrived, he saw something that made his heart race. A large wrecked ship was scattered across the barren landscape of the moon. It had crash-landed, and parts of the ship were still smoking. He could see a figure lying among the wreckage. His first thought was that it was a survivor, someone in need of help. Alex quickly rushed to the wreck. As he got closer, he could see that the figure wasn't human. She was an alien, with skin the color of the night sky, and her eyes glowed in a way that seemed almost unnatural. Her body was slender, and she appeared to be unconscious, but breathing. Her eyes fluttered open as Alex knelt beside her. He froze. For a moment, staring into the alien eyes that seemed to pierce through him. There was something about them, something powerful. It felt as though she could see right into his soul. "Help me," she whispered, her voice raspy but urgent. Alex hesitated for a second, unsure of what to do. He had never seen an alien before, but he had sworn an oath to help anyone in need, no matter who they were. Carefully, he reached out to her, his hands shaking slightly. "I'll help you," he said, trying to sound calm, though his heart was pounding in his chest. She blinked and stared at him for a long moment, as though trying to read him. Then, to his surprise, she smiled. It was a soft, almost reassuring smile, despite the pain she must have been in. "Come with me, human," she said, her voice gentle. But there was something in her tone that made Alex's heart skip a beat. Alex didn't know what she meant, but he didn't have time to ask. The alien woman's condition seemed worse than he at first thought. Had to get her back to the station. With some effort, he helped her to her feet, supporting her weight as best he could. She winced in pain, but didn't speak again. Her eyes remained locked on him, as though something was drawing her to him. Something he couldn't understand. The walk back to the shuttle was quiet, save for the sound of Alex's boots crunching. On the moon's rocky surface, he could feel her eyes on him, and it made him uncomfortable, yet strangely calm at the same time. There was something captivating about her. Maybe it was her beauty, or maybe it was the way her alien presence seemed to fill the space around them. It's like nothing he had ever felt before. They finally made it back to the shuttle, and Alex helped her aboard. As the ship took off, the alien woman leaned back in her seat, her eyes closing as she let out a soft sigh. Alex was focused on flying the shuttle back to the station, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was the beginning of something much bigger than he could imagine. When they landed, Alex helped her out of the shuttle and into the medical bay. The station's doctor, Dr. Samuels, immediately started assessing her injuries. Alex watched closely as the doctor worked. The woman's wounds were deep, and it was clear she had been through a lot. Yet, despite her pain, she had a calm presence about her, as if she had seen things far worse than this. "She's lucky you found her," Dr. Samuels said, glancing up at Alex. "This isn't like any species I've ever seen," he said. She spoke. "To you?" "Yeah," Alex replied, still trying to process everything. She said, "Come with me, human." What do you think she meant by that? The doctor frowned, looking thoughtful. "It's hard to say, but whatever the case, she's not from around here, and she's not in any condition to answer questions right now. Let's focus on getting her stable." Alex nodded, still unsure of what to make of the whole situation. Who was she? Why was she here? What had she meant by those words? As the doctor worked, Alex stood by, his mind racing. The energy readings, the crash, the mysterious woman, it all seemed connected. But to what? What kind of trouble was he getting into? He turned to look at her, and for a moment their eyes met again. This time there was no smile, but there was an understanding, as though she knew he was about to be pulled into something far greater than himself. And for the first time, Alex realized he had no choice. He was already involved. There was no turning back now. The next few hours passed in a blur for Alex. The station's medical staff worked tirelessly to stabilize the alien woman. Her injuries were severe, but somehow her body was holding on. As Alex stood outside the medical bay, his thoughts raced. He couldn't shake the image of her eyes, the way they seemed to peer deep into his soul. There was something so otherworldly about her, yet so familiar, as if she was a puzzle he needed to solve. Dr. Samuels stepped out of the medical bay, wiping his hands on a cloth. He looked tired but satisfied with the work he had done. She's stable for now, the doctor said, glancing at Alex. But I've never seen anything like her. Her physiology is different. I'll need to run more tests once she's fully awake. Alex nodded, though his mind was elsewhere. What do you think she meant when she said, "I need your help"? He asked. The doctor shrugged, his expression serious. I don't know. But we need to be careful. We don't know who or what she is. You were the first one to find her. What did she tell you? Alex hesitated. She didn't say much. It's just that she's from a distant place and her people are gone. She says they're in danger and she's the last of her kind. That's troubling, Doctor. Samuels said quietly, but I can't help you with this. You're on your own, Alex. As the hours passed, Alex found it hard to focus on anything else. His curiosity about the woman only grew, but he knew he needed to wait. She needed to wake up first. He tried to rest, but sleep didn't come easily. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, those glowing eyes that seemed to see straight through him. Finally, the next morning, he received word that she was awake. He rushed to the medical bay, his heart pounding with anticipation. As he entered the room, he found her sitting up, her eyes still glowing softly in the dim light. Her expression was calm, though there was a certain sadness in her gaze. You're awake, Alex said, his voice a little uncertain. She looked at him, her eyes locking onto his. Yes, she said, her voice still weak, but clear. Thank you, human, for helping me. Alex smiled nervously. You're welcome. I'm glad you're okay. She nodded, her gaze softening. I know you have questions, but I will not burden you with everything yet. What I need is your help. Alex leaned against the wall, his curiosity growing. What do you need? She took a deep breath, as though gathering her strength. My people were destroyed by an empire, a ruthless force that conquers and destroys everything in its path. They've hunted us for years. And now I am the last of my kind. Her voice faltered for a moment, and she seemed to fight back a wave of emotion. I escaped, but not without a price. They will come for me, and they will not stop until they have finished what they started. Alex felt a pang of sympathy for her. He couldn't imagine the pain of losing everything, your home, your people. But there was something that told him she wasn't just telling a sad story. There was purpose in her words. What do you want me to do? Alex asked quietly. I need to find something, she said. An ancient weapon, hidden on a distant world. It's the only thing that can defeat them. Without it, I am helpless. But I cannot go alone. They will be watching. Alex's mind raced. A weapon, hidden on a distant world. This was starting to sound like something out of a science fiction novel, not real life. But something about the way she spoke, so calmly, so earnestly, told him she wasn't lying. How do you expect me to help? He asked. I'm just a technician. I know nothing about weapons or fighting. I'm not even trained for something like this. Her gaze softened, and for the first time a small smile appeared on her lips. You do not need to be a soldier. I need someone who understands strategy, who can think quickly, who can navigate difficult situations. And you, human, you have something that my kind lacks a certain creativity. It will be useful. Alex felt a strange warmth at her words, but he also felt a weight settle in his chest. This was no simple task. She was asking him to risk everything: his life, his career, everything he knew. But there was a part of him that couldn't say no. She had saved his life by bringing him into this mission, and now she was asking for his help. "What's this weapon?" he asked. She hesitated for a moment, her eyes clouding over with something dark. "It's a relic of my people's past, an ancient technology that could turn the tide of war. It's powerful, more powerful than anything the Empire possesses, but it is hidden and it will not be easy to find." Alex took a deep breath. "Okay, I'll help, but I have one condition." The woman raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What is your condition?" "Want to know everything. No more secrets. If we're doing this, I need to understand what we're up against." She nodded slowly. "I understand. And I will tell you what I can, but the truth is, the more you know, the more danger you will be in. Are you willing to face that?" Alex didn't hesitate. "Yes, I'm in." The woman's eyes softened, and for the first time, there was a hint of something like relief in her expression. "Thank you, human. You don't know how much this means to me." Alex stood there for a moment, taking it all in. He had just agreed to help an alien woman on a mission that could change the fate of the galaxy. His life was about to change in ways he couldn't even begin to understand. But one thing was certain: he wasn't going to back out now. The next few days were a whirlwind for Alex. After agreeing to help the alien woman, whom he now knew as Alara, his life had shifted in ways he never imagined. He spent hours with her, learning about the galaxy's deep and hidden conflicts, a galaxy far beyond anything he had ever known. She spoke of an empire once so vast and powerful that it had consumed entire worlds, erasing civilizations and leaving nothing behind but ruins. Alara's calm demeanor was in stark contrast to the urgency in her voice. She needed to find the weapon, a relic from her people's past, and quickly. But every step of the way, danger seemed to be closing in on them. They had only just begun to understand the full scope of the mission when the Empire's forces found them. It happened one evening. While Alex was in the control room of the station, reviewing data from Alara's planet, the alarm went off without warning, its shrill sound cutting through the quiet. The station's security team scrambled into action, but Alex knew what the alarm meant before anyone said a word. The Empire had arrived. Alara appeared beside him in an instant, her eyes scanning the monitor. "They're here," she said quietly, her voice betraying a trace of fear she hadn't shown before. Alex could see it too. A fleet of ships had appeared out of nowhere, surrounding the station. The enemy was here, and they weren't going to leave without getting what they wanted. Alara's presence was the only reason they had come. She was the target. "Are they after you?" Alex asked, his mind racing. "Yes," Alara said, her face serious. "They have tracked me across the stars. They know what I'm after. And they will stop at nothing to capture me. We'll have to leave now." Alex's heart pounded in his chest. He wasn't ready for this. He wasn't ready for war, for battles, for anything like this. But Alara's urgent tone left no room for hesitation. He'd already made his choice. There was no turning back. "We'll need a ship," Alex said, running through the possible options in his mind. "There is one," Alara replied. "A shuttle hidden on the lower levels. It's my only chance. But we have to move quickly." Together, they raced through the corridors of the station, heading for the secret dock where Alara's shuttle was hidden. Alex had never seen this part of the station before, and the silence in the hallways was deafening. It was as if the entire place knew that something terrible was about to happen. When they reached the shuttle, Alara worked quickly to prepare it for takeoff. Her movements were precise, practiced. It was clear that she had done this before escaping, fleeing, surviving. "We need to leave the station before they lock down the airlocks," she said, her voice steady as she activated the shuttles. "Controls." Alex nodded, doing his best to keep his fear in check. They didn't have much time. As the shuttle rose into the air, Alex glanced out of the window. The station was already beginning to feel distant, but the Empire's ships were closing. In fast. They had seconds, maybe a minute. before the station's defenses would activate and make escape impossible. The shuttle jerked as it broke through the atmosphere, but Alira guided it smoothly through the vastness of space. Alex sat in silence. Watching the stars blur past them was the most terrifying thing he had ever experienced. The Empire was relentless. They wouldn't stop until they found her, and by extension, they would be coming for him too. "How did they find you?" Alex asked, his voice quieter than he intended. Alira glanced at him, her expression grave. "They have tracking devices. On my ship, I was too careless. But they'll never stop hunting me. The moment they lose me, they'll move on to another target. They are a plague that spreads across the stars." Alex swallowed hard. He had never thought he'd be caught in something so big. He was just a technician, a nobody. An alien woman who was the last of her kind, running from a merciless empire. He wasn't prepared for this. But there was no turning back now. The shuttle jumped into hyperspace, and the stars stretched out into long lines of light as they traveled. Faster than the speed of light, Alira leaned back in her seat, her eyes closed, as if the worst was behind them. But Alex knew better. They had only just begun. "How do you plan to get the weapon?" Alex asked, breaking the silence. "Where do we even start?" Alira's eyes opened, and she looked at him with an intensity that made him feel both nervous and strangely calm at the same time. "We must go to a planet called Keleth. It's hidden in a system that the Empire doesn't know about. Clues left a trail. We must find them before the Empire does. If we fail, everything will be lost." Alex nodded, trying to absorb everything she was telling him. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't even trained for this. But somehow, he had become part of her mission. Part of a larger story, a fight for survival that spanned the galaxy. He looked at her again, this time with a new understanding. She wasn't just running for her life. She was fighting for her people, for a future that had been ripped away from her. She had lost everything, and now she was asking for his help. "We'll find it," Alex said, his voice filled with determination. "We'll get to Keleth, and we'll find this weapon. You're not alone in this." Alira's expression softened for a moment, and a slight smile tugged at the corners of her lips. "Thank you, human. You don't know what that means." They were traveling through the stars now, toward an unknown world. Danger was everywhere, but for the first time since this journey began, Alex felt a sense of purpose. He didn't know what awaited them, but he knew one thing. He wasn't going to let Alira face it alone. The Empire was coming, but they weren't going down without a fight. The journey through space felt like an endless stretch of time. The stars around them were a blur of light as Alira's shuttle jumped through hyperspace. Alex sat in silence beside her, the quiet hum of the ship the only sound between them. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, each one more pressing than the last. They were headed to Keleth, a planet so hidden that even the Empire hadn't discovered it yet. But the road to finding the weapon would be anything but easy. Alira had been quiet for hours, her eyes fixed on the glowing lights of the ship's control panel. She looked tired, her face drawn with the weight of everything that had happened. Alex wanted to ask her more questions, to understand everything she was going through. But he could sense that she needed some time. She had already shared so much about her past, about her people's fall, about the Empire's cruelty, but there was still so much left unsaid. "We'll get there soon," Alira finally spoke, her voice breaking the silence. "When we reach Keleth, we have to be careful. The planet is hidden, but there are still dangers. The clues I need to find the weapon are scattered across the world. It won't be easy." Alex nodded. "I understand. What exactly are we looking for?" Eyes flicked to him, her expression serious. "The weapon isn't just any ordinary piece of technology. It's ancient, a relic from my people's past. It's powerful enough to defeat the Empire's forces, but it's hidden in a place only my people knew about, ordnance. But the clues are hidden in ancient ruins. We'll need to be careful, as the Empire is always one step behind." Alex thought for a moment. "If the Empire knows you're alive, won't they be looking for you on Keleth too?" Alira's expression darkened. "They will. But the planet is protected by an ancient force. The Empire doesn't know how to get past it. That's why Keleth remains hidden. But the closer we get, the more we'll have to watch our backs. Empire is ruthless, and they'll stop at nothing to catch me. Alex felt a weight settle in his chest. He had never been involved in anything like this before. This wasn't a job he could just quit. He had made his choice to help Alara, and now there was no turning back. The mission felt bigger than just her survival. It was about saving the galaxy from an empire that had destroyed so much. But the truth was, Alex didn't know if they could actually do it. He wasn't a soldier, didn't have the skills to fight an entire empire. But Alara needed him. And he couldn't let her down? "We'll make it," Alex said, his voice filled with determination. "We'll find the weapon. We'll stop the empire." Alara turned to look at him, a flicker of something in her eyes. "I'm glad you're here, Alex. I don't think I could do this alone." The words surprised him, and he wasn't sure how to respond. Alara had always been so confident, so in control. To hear her admit that she needed him made him feel like he was more than just a passenger in this mission. He was an equal partner in it. The next few hours passed quickly, the ship's steady hum the only sound as they made their way toward. Alex kept his eyes on the stars outside, his mind still racing. He had no idea what to expect when they arrived. Alara had warned him that the planet was dangerous, but he wasn't sure what that meant. What kind of dangers could a hidden world like Kelith hold? Soon the ship began to slow, and the stars outside began to change. The familiar glow of hyperspace faded, replaced by the deep blackness of regular space. Alara's hands flew over the controls, her eyes focused. Alex sat up straighter, his heart beginning to race. They were close. Alara spoke softly, almost to herself. "Kelith, the last safe place." Alex's eyes scanned the view outside the ship. He didn't see anything at first, just the emptiness of space. But then, just as he thought they had missed the planet, something appeared. Faint outline against the darkness. It was small, hidden in the shadow of a large asteroid field. The planet was nearly invisible, protected by the debris that surrounded it. "There it is," Alara whispered Kelith. The shuttle flew toward the planet, weaving through the asteroid field. Alex's stomach tightened as he realized just how much danger they were in. If the Empire found them here, there would be nowhere to hide. But Alara seemed calm, as if she knew exactly what to do. The shuttle made its way through the field and finally landed on the surface of the planet. The ground beneath them was rocky, covered with ancient ruins. The landscape was barren, but there was a strange, quiet beauty to it. The ruins stretched out in all directions, remnants of a civilization long gone. Alara stood up from her seat, her eyes scanning the area. "This is it," she said. "We'll find the weapon here." Alex followed her as she led the way out of the shuttle and onto the rocky surface. The air was thin, and the wind carried a chill that cut through his jacket. The ruins were scattered in all directions, massive stone, structures crumbling from centuries of neglect. It was clear that no one had set foot on this planet for a long time as they walked deeper into the ruins. Alara stopped in front of a large stone door covered in ancient symbols. She ran her fingers over the surface, her expression intense. "This is one of the clues. It's hidden here for a reason. The weapon is nearby, but finding it won't be easy." Alex looked around, feeling a sense of awe. The place was ancient, told beyond anything he had ever seen. But the weight of the mission pressed heavily on his chest. The Empire would be looking for them soon. He had no time to waste. Alara turned to him. "We must hurry. The weapon is our only chance." Alex nodded, determination growing inside him. They were getting closer. The weapon was within their reach. But the real question was, could they find it before the Empire found them? The ruins of Kelith stretched out before Alex and Alara, a place of ancient secrets and hidden dangers. They had spent days carefully searching the landscape, moving through crumbling temples and forgotten halls. The clues Alara had followed were leading them closer to the weapon. But it was clear that they weren't the only ones looking. The planet, while beautiful in its ancient silence, felt too quiet now. Every step they took seemed to echo through the empty halls, as if the world was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Alara's movements were steady, but Alex could see the tension in her eyes. She knew they were running out of time. "We need to move faster, Alara." said one evening as they set up camp near an old structure. "The Empire's closer than we thought." Alex nodded, though his mind was spinning. He could sense it, too. The air was thick with the feeling of something just out of reach. They were so close to finding the weapon, but the Empire was getting closer every minute. If they didn't act soon, the weapon might slip from their grasp forever. They had found the entrance to the final chamber. A massive underground vault hidden beneath the planet's surface. The door was ancient, covered in symbols that Alara recognized as a form of her people's old language. As she studied the symbols, Alex tried to focus on the bigger picture. The Empire could be right outside the ruins, waiting to strike. "Well, be ready," Alex said. "We won't let them take it from us." Alara glanced at him, her eyes sharp. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore, Alex. This is the final battle. The Empire cannot be allowed to win." Alex knew what she meant. The weapon wasn't just a tool for war, it was the key to stopping an empire that had ravaged entire galaxies. He couldn't let Alara down now. They had come too far, faced too many challenges. But the fear was creeping in too. Wait. What if they weren't ready? What if the weapon wasn't enough? Lyra seemed to sense his doubts. "We will succeed, Alex. Trust me. We've already come so far." That was all Alex needed. He took a deep breath, nodded, and followed her into the chamber. Entrance to the vault opened with a low, rumbling sound, revealing a massive stone staircase leading down into the darkness. The air was cold, and the floor was covered with dust, evidence that no one had entered this place for centuries. At the bottom of the stairs, there was a large, open room. The walls lined with ancient symbols and strange markings. "This is it," Alara said, her voice a whisper. "The weapon is here, somewhere." They began to search the room, moving cautiously through the space. The walls were lined with carvings, telling the story of Alara's people, their rise, their fall, and their final struggle against the Empire. But there was no sign of the weapon. Alex's heart began to race. What if it had been taken? What if they were too late? "Keep looking," Alara urged, her voice tense. "It has to be here." Alex scanned the room, his eyes darting from one symbol to another, until he finally saw something that stood out. A small indentation in the floor, barely visible. He crouched down, his hands shaking as he pressed on the stone. There was a soft click, and the ground beneath them shifted. Revealing a hidden compartment, Alara rushed forward, her eyes wide with hope. Together they opened the compartment, revealing a small metallic object resting inside. It wasn't large, but it was powerful, a relic of an ancient civilization, more advanced than anything Alex had ever seen. "This is it," Alara whispered, her voice filled with awe. The weapon. Alex could feel the weight of it, the significance of what they had just found. This small object was their only chance to defeat the Empire and free Alara's people. It was more than just a weapon, it was a symbol of hope. But their moment of triumph was short-lived. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed through the chamber, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Alara's face hardened, and Alex instinctively reached for the small blaster he had brought with him. It wasn't a fighter, but he wasn't going to let the Empire take this from them. Not now. The door to the chamber slammed open, and a group of soldiers in dark armor stormed. The Empire had found them. "You won't get away with this," one of the soldiers said, his voice cold. "Surrender now, and we might show you mercy." Alara stood tall, her eyes flashing with fury. "There is no mercy for you," she said, her voice steady despite the danger. "This ends today." The soldiers spread out, weapons drawn. Their eyes focused on Alara and Alex. Alex's pulse quickened as he prepared for a fight he wasn't ready for, but Alara wasn't afraid. She stepped forward, her hand raised as if to stop him from drawing. His weapon? "I can handle this," she said, her voice calm. "Stay behind me." Alex hesitated for a moment, but then stepped back, trusting her. He watched as Alara moved with speed and precision, her body flowing like a shadow as she disarmed. The nearest soldier with a swift movement, the others hesitated, unsure of how to respond to the sudden attack. Alara's skills were unlike anything Alex had ever seen. She was a force to be reckoned with. The soldiers attempted to retaliate, but Alara was too quick. She fought with a fierce determination that left Alex in awe. Every movement was calculated, efficient. It was as if she had been training for this moment her entire life. But as the last soldier fell, a chill ran through Alex's spine. The battle wasn't over yet. The Empire had more forces coming. They were just the beginning. Alara stood over the fallen soldiers, her breathing heavy but steady. "We have to leave now." Alex nodded, his mind racing. They had the weapon, but the Empire wasn't going to let them go easily. They had to escape, and they had to do it fast. Together. They ran for the exit, the weight of the weapon heavy in Alex's hands. They had only one chance. Would they make it out alive? The shuttle's engines hummed softly as Alex and Alara raced through the vastness of space. The ruins of Keleth were behind them, and with them, the Empire's forces had been left in the dust. But even with the weapon now in their possession, the threat was far from over. The Empire was relentless, and the danger was still closing in as the shuttle sped through space. Alara sat in the pilot's seat, her hands steady as she navigated their course. Her eyes were focused, but Alex could see the exhaustion behind them. She had been through so much, and yet she carried on without hesitation. Alex glanced at the small device they had taken from the ruins. The weapon, small but powerful, was now their only hope. But there was a weight to it, something far heavier than its physical form. It was a symbol of the struggle that lay ahead. It was the key to defeating the Empire. It was something the Empire would stop at nothing to reclaim. "We're not safe yet," Alara said quietly, breaking the silence. "They'll be coming after us. We've only bought ourselves a little time." Alex nodded, his mind racing. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing: they had to get to safety. They had to find a way to use the weapon before the Empire caught up with them. "We need to get to a place where the Empire can't find us," Alex said, his voice steady, despite the uncertainty that hung over them. "Somewhere hidden." Alara turned to him, her eyes sharp. "I know just the place. A safe world, far from the Empire's reach. It's not much, but it's the only place I trust." Alex raised an eyebrow. "How do you know they won't find us there?" Alara's lips curled into a small smile, but it was tinged with sadness. "The Empire doesn't know about it. It's a place where my people used to go when we needed to hide. They won't find us there, but we need to hurry." The shuttles speed increased as Alara engaged the hyperdrive. The stars outside stretched into lines of light as they jumped into hyperspace. Alex leaned back in his seat, his thoughts running in every direction. They were so close now. They had the weapon. They had a plan. All they needed was time, and time was something they were running out of. Hours passed as the shuttle sped through the galaxy, its course set for the hidden world Alara had mentioned. Alex sat in silence, trying to calm the storm of thoughts in his mind. They were carrying a weapon that could change the course of the war, but the Empire was still out there, still hunting them. "What if we fail?" Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What if the weapon doesn't work?" Lara's gaze flickered toward him, and for the first time there was a softness in her eyes. "We won't fail. We've come too far. No, we have something they don't." "What's that?" Alex asked. "Hope," Alara said quietly. "The Empire may have power, but they don't have hope. They've taken everything from my people, but they can't take away our will to fight." Alex nodded slowly, understanding the weight of her words. They had lost so much, but they still had each other and they still had hope. It was a fragile thing, but it was the only thing that could keep them going. The shuttle slowed as they neared their destination. Through the window, Alex could see a small planet coming into view. It was covered in dense forests and mountains, with rivers and lakes that sparkled in the light. It looked peaceful, untouched by the horrors of war. It was exactly what they needed. "This is it," Alara said, her voice filled with relief. "We'll be safe here, at least for now." The shuttle landed softly on the surface of the planet, its engines powering down as the airlock opened. Alex stepped out first, his boots crunching on the grass beneath him. The air was fresh, the smell of pine and earth filling his lungs. It was a stark contrast to the sterile environment of the station and the harsh, empty world of Keleth. Alara joined him outside, her eyes scanning the landscape. "This is where we'll hide," she said, her voice steady. "We can rest here, regroup, and figure out how to use the weapon." They set up camp near the shuttle, surrounded by trees and a gentle river that ran through the area. It felt like they were the only two people left in the universe, isolated but safe for the moment. The weapon was hidden safely inside the shuttle, its power waiting to be unlocked. As the days passed, Alex and Alara began to make plans. They knew that they couldn't stay hidden forever. The Empire would eventually find them, and when they did, it would be a fight for their lives. But with the weapon in their hands, they had a fighting chance. One evening, as the sun began to set, casting a warm orange glow across the landscape, Alara sat by the fire. Alex joined her, and for the first time in a long while, the two of them sat in silence, watching the flames dance in the cool night air. "This is what we're fighting for," Lara said softly, her voice distant. "A future. A chance for my people to rebuild." Alex nodded. "And to stop the Empire from destroying more worlds." Alara turned to him, her eyes meeting his. "Thank you, Alex. I couldn't have done this without you." Alex smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. "We're in this together." Alara's smile was small but genuine. "Together," she echoed. As the fire crackled between them, Alex realized that this was more than just a fight for survival. This was a fight for something bigger, for a future, for hope, and for the possibility of a better world. The weapon they had was only a tool. The true power lay in their determination, their will to fight, and their belief in what they were doing. The battle was far from over. But for the first time, Alex felt like they might actually win. The Empire might be powerful, but they had something stronger on their side. Hope.